What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Ink and Insights, a weekly highlight comic book review show where we talk about our favorite comics of last week and the comics that you may have missed. I'm joined, as always, with Stu, Dr. Doom's fan club. Stu, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much, man. It's been a good day. Been a nice, calm, smooth day, honestly, in retrospect, in terms of like the past week or two. But yeah, man. Happy to be here. Our last live of 2024. Got a great guest.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm excited. I'm definitely excited here. It's the same. It's kind of funny, man. It's the uneventful days lead to not much to say, but man, are they appreciated? Because I really didn't need a lot of shit going on today. I needed some time to kick my feet up here.
Yeah, it was nice to have nothing in the forecast for sure.
Yeah. But without further ado here, since we had talked about the fact that we do have a special guest here, I think it's only right and fitting that we bring him out as quickly as possible here. So, without further ado, Mr. Rock and Robbie Billups.
What up? Your energy projection shucks, bro. Like you gotta get your energy projection up there on the back.
I don't know what's up with that, but everybody's been giving me shit all week. They're like, "You ain't 6'3". I'm like, I never said I was. I don't know who did that. Like, I don't know who decided I was 6'3".
I decided that because I've stood next to you and Stu, and both of you tower over me. Like, you remember that scene in the Neverending Story where you got the two sphinxes on each side, and you got little ass Atreyu walking through? That's what I feel like standing next to you guys.
I'm 5'11", just so everybody knows officially. I don't want to like, anybody thinking I'm trying to like make myself seem taller or whatever, but I had straight up people were messaging me, homies were messaging me like, why are you acting like you 6'3"? I'm like, bruh, I don't know who put that together.
My driver's license says I'm 5'11", so if you're really 5'11", I don't know. I don't know what to say, man.
You must have been wearing some platform shoes, man. You must have been going to work that night. I don't know, man, but shit. I'm happy to be here, man. I've been wanting to be on this show since y'all started it, so happy to be here.
Thanks for coming.
We're excited to have you here, and we're equally excited to see all these wonderful people that we got here joining us in the chat as well. Kicking things off first and foremost with Verno from Blood Splatter Chatter Station. Good to see you, Vern. We got our homie Fable holding it down here. Station to you as well. Brother. Nice seeing you. The man with the greatest taste on IG here, Rogue Collecting.
What up?
What up? All right. How about we go ahead and jump right into our first comic of the week? Y'all good with that?
Let's do it, bro.
Yeah, man.
Let's go with Ultimate Universe 1 Year in #1, written by Dennis Camp with artwork by Jonas Scharf. So this was a really cool kind of look back at the year that we've had within the Ultimate Universe and all the events that we've kind of had to live with and that have culminated into the place where the Maker is still behind the city. The cabal of individuals that control the world are still very much in control, even though they're kind of subdued right now. There's not a lot going on, but we're seeing everything through the eyes of one Nick Fury. That's a little bit different than the Nick Fury that we know from the 616, and definitely different than the one that we've been delivered previously within the Ultimate Universe. So I'm going to start off with that. What did you guys think of the reintroduction, if you will, of one Nick Fury in the Ultimate Universe? And Stu, I'll kick it off to you first, man.
It was solid. I like this little intro here, how they're spiking this dude with the satellite, this would be rebel or whatever, obviously. But I thought it was cool. Kind of seeing him and the cabal, as it were, and him addressing them. I thought it was a cool introduction, and yeah, it was a surprise to see him. I didn't know necessarily like this whole issue was going to be centric to him. But regardless, I thought it was cool and well done start to finish. I enjoyed it. Robbie, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, honestly, I thought
It's the bit. We know it. We've seen this
I
before.
you know,
You
this
see-
happened
you-
to you.
solid.
With this
Yeah.
That was
happened to
solid.
you when you were Fableman, you know. So I just was. First of all, what a great cover on this issue, right? Nice tribute to
Mhm.
Jim Steranko right there.
Very nice, yeah.
Cool stuff. I really like this issue. I like this introduction of this Nick Fury, right? They're kind of playing with our expectations. We're like, are we getting the Samuel L. Jackson Fury like we got in the previous Ultimate Universe? Then you're like, no, you're getting like old man eye patch, white dude Fury. But then they take that and subvert that expectation. But actually, it seems so obvious when you go back and reread this book. When you go back and reread the issue, it's so obvious what's going on, right? And I love how they were like playing with our expectations and they were kind of subverting some stuff, but at the same time giving us a really great story. Lots of callbacks to like classic Shield stories done in a different way.
Yeah.
I love that it's the hand instead of Shield, but the hand's different. And this poor dude just trying to cook some hot dogs and hamburgers for his family, right? They paint it out. I love that opening. They paint this dude out. He's like such a good dude, right? He's saving cats out of trees. He's helping build houses for the poor. But he said one thing, and people are listening, and this dude just gets shot right down from the sky. I absolutely loved it. I thought Nick Fury was super solid in this book, and it was a really great way to kind of remind people. And I think the purpose of this issue is to remind people about the Cabal, because if you're following the Ultimates, and of course, Dennis Camp, who wrote the majority of this issue, is the writer of the Ultimates, right? Fantastic writer, 20th Century Men, Agent of World, Maxwell's Demons. In the Ice Cream Man Quarantine special, he wrote like the best segment in that entire thing. Dennis Camp is a dude with a bright future in this industry. And it's really cool that he's enjoying working at Marvel for now. So I'm going to eat it up.
Amen.
Yeah, arguably, I mean, looking at the people that are working for Marvel right now, his writing is arguably the strongest amongst the bunch, right? And that's including the likes of Jonathan Hickman. I think that Dennis Camp is doing really sound, fantastic work, especially within the Ultimate Universe, because I feel like there's so much more room to play and grow as opposed to everything else. And you guys actually brought up a funny point here. They call it the Hand in this. I loved the fact that the helicarrier was also called the Beast, which is kind of a callback to the Hand within, the proper Marvel universe as well. Really cool, subtle little nods and things that were happening there.
And it's like one more thing before we move on from the intro. I think they're at a cookout when it happens, right? And they got some like cold ass line in there, like medium well or something after they fry that dude.
That's true.
Like, it was great. And like the pullback and you see him just charred there on the lawn. It was great.
And props to you, Stu, for saying cookout, not barbecue, because people that call that barbecue, I mean, come on, let's get real.
Wow, shots
I
fired.
think there was a war between words, bro.
Well, I'm just trying to say, a lot of people say, hey, we're barbecuing, and they're really just making hamburgers and hot dogs out on the grill, right?
Yeah,
and Rogue, you're right, dude. Absolute Martian Manhunter with him and Javi Rodriguez. That's probably going to be a special sleeper book of 2024 that most people probably won't like, or 2025.
Well, I mean, not everyone could have impeccable tastes, though. I mean, if you like it, we know.
It's true. Cream rises to the top, right?
Absolutely. So the other cool thing about this issue is that we kind of see the diverging point where the Ultimate Universe was the Ultimate Universe as we knew it, and then we see when the maker's kind of influence takes over, because we see, like Robbie, you were talking about this, a lot of the different things that happened in Nick Fury's past here, when he's in the war, when he's doing these certain things, and then you see, oh, here's where the maker comes in, here's where he starts making some unsavory decisions, if you will, and that's what really leads him down the path of becoming the director of the Hand in this universe and working with the maker and making decisions that ultimately lead to the ending of this issue, which I think is totally worthwhile to kind of keep close to the vest for the purposes of this show here. Granted, it's been out a week. I think it's totally something that you should experience as you read the issue. So I guess warning, there is a little bit of a cliffhanger, cool ending here, but just give it a read. I think it's absolutely worthwhile. In regard to the Cabal itself, I think that this issue, even more so than Ultimate Invasion and all of this setup for the new Ultimate Universe, I think this issue really showed how devious and dastardly every single one of these people were, specifically DaCosta. That was gross, man. It was absolutely awesome to see how villainous they were.
That's like the first time we're really seeing him in these books, right? Because like what I liked about it was it brought the focus back into the Cabal, which they've been involved in the Ultimate Universe, right? Mostly if you're looking at like Ultimate X-Men, there's a little bit there with Viper, right? Just a little bit, right? But it's becoming more realized why that's there. In Black Panther, it's very prevalent with Khonshu and Ra, right?
Yep.
That's very prevalent. But you haven't seen some of these others, but in Ultimates, of course, you get Captain Britain's jackass over there, right? And you get a little bit of Hulk, that great issue with the Hulk, right? But it was nice to kind of like just kind of refocus on the threat of the Cabal, to make it very distinct who these people are, how they operate, and how they don't really work well together. And it's only held together through fear of the Maker. And they did a great job in this one of just kind of bringing that back and setting up, and even like starting out with the big map and everything like that, right? Just to like remind everybody what's going on and throw in the idea of like they're taking over North America now and splitting it up. It's very east of west, the setup of the Cabal. It's so east of west, is it not? It really is.
That's a great comparison. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just on DaCosta, well, just on the DaCosta point, it reminded me of Tom Hardy and Mad Max, right? Like that was wild. They were kind of bleeding the boy dry. But yeah, I second everything you guys said. I love how it's kind of like a good refresher. It reminds us of, you know, the dread and how entrenched this Cabal is, and you know, how they truly have their hand over everything. And like you said, the ending is fantastic. I love, you know, how I love Fury giving shit to the Hulk about how he failed with the Ultimates, and Hulk's like, I've recently come to appreciate mindless violence again. Like I love that little back and forth. So and like Robbie was talking about those throwbacks, like all those throwback panels we got with old Fury, like those different looks and different storylines was super dope. So yeah, I thought it was a great, very well structured, very well put together issue, and a great job at reminding us, you know, where we were and what was going on. Because like yes, this has been there, and like we were talking about with that Hulk issue in the Ultimates, and we definitely got a reminder then. But it was just good to bring back all that dread and fear back home as we move forward into the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it really was. It was a glue type issue here, and I like that it really does draw everything together. If you're a person that's reading every single book of every single Ultimate book, there's things that are sprinkled in here that are introduced in other things, such as the agents with the digitized faces. I believe we first saw those in Ultimate Black Panther previously, were the guards of the place that was holding the Ultimate Sorcerer Supreme at the time. So I like that we get little bits and pieces, and Stu, like you were talking about, they're referencing the things that just previously happened in the Ultimates here, where they got freaking wrecked by by the Hulk and all of his cronies. Yeah.
One of the best issues of the year, for real, for me.
And it's great too, because you know, he talks about, well, I killed Stark, but then after we've read the last issue of Ultimates, we know that we as the audience know something that they don't know, right? So it's cool to put the threat and focus back on them for a moment, but it's also really cool for us as the audience to know that they don't know like certain things too, right? And it's really cool to see. And another great thing, because you mentioned this, E, was, you know, kind of showing the Ultimate Universe that was and how it got changed. Like that's what Ultimate Invasion was really about, was like teaching or showing us how the Maker went and changed things. And of course, one of the first things he's going to do is go and kind of get Fury on his side as early as possible and take S.H.I.E.L.D. out of the equation and actually turn it into something that's more effective for him. Right. And the best thing about the Ultimate Universe still is that the whole thing rests on the threat of the Maker coming out of the city. And they get to kind of put that back into the focus again and let us know that it's like a year away, y'all. 10,000 for him. What's that going to look like? I mean, I'm just saying just off the dome. What if the Maker doesn't even make it through the city in 10,000 years? What if Stain comes back and now he's the big bad or something like that? Right. All kinds of craziness can come in. Who knows what Hickman's got up his sleeve, right?
Dude, I am so glad that you brought that up, because that leads me to a pivot point that I wanted to take. Is we have 11 months left. What do you guys have any quote unquote conspiracy theories. Do you think you have a theory about what is really happening in this universe that maybe isn't necessarily spelled out for us right now?
I'm not really playing that game. I'm just kind of receiving it all and letting it happen and having fun with it. I hope they can sincerely blow my mind with it and do something really cool and legendary. But yeah, I don't really have any one theory I've honed in on. How about you, Robbie?
Well, I think like the obvious thing is the Maker comes back and he's more evil and he's more like diabolical and he's smarter, more intelligent. He's got more technology. He's got an army, all this kind of shit. But I do think that obviously Hickman's made a name for himself. He's back at Marvel. And I'm not saying that he's phoning shit in, but he ain't writing his current Marvel books to the level that, say, he wrote Fantastic Four and FF or New Avengers and then into Secret Wars. And definitely not like Manhattan Projects or East of West or Dying in the Dead or anything like that, right? So it seems like a very kind of simplified version of Hickman, but I still feel like he's going to throw the rug out from under us. And I think, what if in 10,000 years in the city, this version of Reed Richards kind of evolves back into a good guy? And what if Stain's the one that gets corrupted? I mean, that would be an interesting dynamic because we are anticipating now for a year and now another year to anticipate what we think is going to happen. Is Hickman going to give us exactly what the audience thinks is going to happen? It's so obvious, or is he going to subvert those expectations? I think he is, and I hope he does.
Yeah. So just publishing wise in real time, is it going to be like this time next year when we finally get those answers? Is that what they're going to play on?
Man.
Are they going to do the 11? So. Okay.
Yeah, because each Ultimate book it takes place in real time, which is an interesting experiment that we've not really seen done in comics, not even in the original Ultimates, right? Because like, for instance, the original Ultimate Universe started with the first 7 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, the origin of Spider-Man, the death of Uncle Ben, a really great comic, but there's no way that was over 7 months, right? And I can't think of, maybe there is, I'm sure there is, but I can't think of anything mainstream that has hit this hard that plays it this way, where it is in real time, right? And there's not some kind of like sliding time scale or something going on.
It was like New 52 was kind of like that, but that was a massive effort.
Yeah, but not fully. It didn't evolve in real time though. Like issue to issue, it wasn't like a month later. Issue 2 of Justice League was like right after issue number 1. You know?
Yeah.
And it's pretty ambitious too, if you think about it, because the reality of what you need to do to make sure that those schedules hit, to do a monthly look, like you cannot have a delayed book. If my memory is correct, looking back at when the Ultimate Universe was first incepted and brought out to us, there were a lot of delays. I think specifically on the Ultimates, the very first run.
Ultimates, there was a lot of delays. I don't think there were any delays on Ultimate Spider-Man, but that's because Bagley's a workworkhorse.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That dude can do 2 ongoings a month today in his 60s. That's ridiculous, right? But yeah, the Ultimates, bruh, it became a joke. I remember I worked at the comic shop when the Ultimates debuted, and it became a joke. It started around like issue 4 and 5. But man, it took forever for 6 to come out, forever to 7 come out. And like, that was it. The industry was in a really bad spot in that time, but we were also dealing with lots of delays. Ultimates, Planetary, some of the most fan favorite books in that era had to deal with these delays. And I like how they set up the art teams very intentionally for this. I do wish that they could have like worked out a little bit more consistency in the art, but yeah, dude, they've hit every single one. Imagine if Ultimate Spider-Man number 12 was delayed for this week, right? And the Christmas issue happened in February. We've seen shit like that happen before, and it's lame, man. It's lame.
Yep. Well, it's even like TV shows. I love it. Well, I don't love it, but it's kind of it's laughable when you see that. Like they have to plan that Christmas episode and the Halloween episode, and you're watching a Halloween episode in December. You're like, what the hell just even happened here? So if I were to push all my chips onto the table though and say that I had a theory for what I think is happening, I don't know if the Doctor Doom of the Ultimate Universe is what we think he is. In fact, I'm almost of the opinion that the Maker may not be as trapped as we think he is. That very well could be the Maker right then and there.
You think Ultimate Doom is the Maker?
Dude, we got 2
I like it. I like
together.
it.
I like that too, because if that's the case, what happened to the real Reed? Is he in the city?
Because, dude, Doctor Doom has done some questionable things right now, right? Like there have been some weird things where you're going, why did he do that right then and there in that moment?
I was about to be like, well, why would the maker be trying to recreate the Fantastic Four? And maybe that is an interesting idea, is that the maker is trying to recreate the Fantastic Four because he wants to create his version of the Four to get back to that family, because he lost that. Exactly. Like if you go back and read the original Ultimate Doomsday where Reed turns evil, like the maker didn't just get created and start off evil. Like that was a conscious decision that Bendis made, which at the time really sucked. It was really off the cuff, out of nowhere, made no sense. It was terrible. But Hickman has turned that character into one of the biggest threats in the Marvel multiverse.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that there's bigger things that are at play here that we just don't know about quite yet here.
Simpleton, I see you out there, but 52 released weekly, but it didn't actually take place weekly though.
I think you're looking at the wrong comment though from Simpleton here, because the reality is he puts barbecue on his burgers.
Look, you may put barbecue sauce on your burgers, but that does not a barbecue make. I'm just saying, and I'm not even from Tennessee, Texas, or North Carolina, man. So, or Kansas. But
are we talking about barbecue sauce or barbecue like barbecue? Because I don't. That'd be.
What is a barbecue? What is a barbecue? Is a barbecue slapping barbecue sauce and some chicken, on a grill, or is barbecue like you got a pit, you're smoking meat, you're like doing a long cook? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not the barbecue guy. Alabama, our claim to fame when it comes to barbecue is the white sauce, which is amazing. It's amazing. Everybody should try the Alabama white sauce if you never have. But I'm just saying, all right. I could put barbecue sauce on a fucking. I could put barbecue sauce on a celery stick. Doesn't mean I'm barbecuing.
Right.
If you got a grill and you have the propensity to crack open a beer, I would argue that you're at a barbecue.
That's called grilling.
I'm just saying. That's what I'm calling it here.
I like your idea of a lonely barbecue. That's amazing.
That's all it takes, man. But before we jump into our next book here, we got a couple more people that are rocking with us tonight here, starting with Edson EO. Nice to see you, buddy.
Edson, what up, bro?
We already mentioned our boy Simpleton. Barbecue on the burgers. I'm right there with you.
I love you, man. I appreciate it too. That's how my family barbecued when I was a kid. They just put barbecue sauce and something on the grill. They were like, we're barbecuing. We're making barbecue tonight. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And I learned otherwise. First time I visited Kansas City and Memphis.
The reality is, if you're a dude that can put together a hardcover book like Simpleton does, you're not wrong about putting barbecue on burgers. You're A-okay in my book. Next up, we got Christina Payne. Nice to see you, Christina.
Christina in every chat I've ever seen.
Everywhere. She's amazing.
Christina Payne is actually an algorithm or some kind of like AI program out there, just like
downloading us deep fake.
By the way, E, I'm just saying, by your definition, man, anybody with the George Foreman grill cooking up a panini, putting some barbecue sauce on it is barbecuing in their apartment in New York by themselves, as long as they can crack open a beer, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Absolutely.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I wonder what the maker would think about that.
Yeah, we'll find out in 11 months.
He comes out, he goes, I've learned the secrets of barbecue.
Yeah. What have you been doing for 10,000 years? I've been barbecuing. We got Verno. Alabama white sauce was Robbie's nickname in high school. What other secrets do you know about Robbie? Personally, I've always been a fan of the vinegar-based barbecue sauces. I like the little sour. No,
I'm a North Carolina barbecue guy, man. I really like that stuff. I really do.
Barbecue brings out the worst in people, doesn't it? Jesus Christ, man. We're all so damn opinionated. We got Chill Out Man. Of course, we got Chill Out Man. He's just like Christina. He's everywhere. And we appreciate him.
Chill's in every chat.
It's both two sides of the same AI coin, I bet.
Exactly. All right. Let's move on to arguably a more controversial book. Amazing Spider-Man number 63.
Yeah.
Weird. Written already, changing up the team here. Written by Justina Ireland with artwork by Gleb Melkinoff, which was super fun saying on my review video, and I didn't have to do it like 14 times in a row to get the name right. So this was all about a look into the past of Peter Parker, as he is now the champion of Earth, selected by 616's Doctor Doom, to make sure that he is the protector of all things here, specifically the minions of Sidorak. And this particular minion was taking him through the events of his past, all the tragedy that he's experienced that he could not do a single thing about to stop. So he had to re-witness Uncle Ben raising him and then ultimately being murdered. He had to witness Gwen Stacy's downfall, Captain Stacy's downfall. He had to see every single event of his life that he could not fix and re-experience that over and over and over until they get the resolution, which I'll save my opinions on that resolution, but I think it's it was very interesting and very appropriate, possibly for the panel of people that we have to discuss on this. But Robbie, I'll kick it off to you first, since it seems like you got something to say here, man. What were your thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man?
Hated it. I did not like it. Okay, so I've been I got a love-hate relationship with Spider-Man comics over the last 10 years, right? I try to follow him because it's like, it shouldn't be Marvel's flagship book, but it is Marvel's flagship book, right? I mean, but now, honestly, it probably should be. It's been their biggest seller for like decades, right? And I think a healthy flagship book from a Marvel signifies a healthy industry, right? But Amazing Spider-Man, whether it was Nick Spencer or Zeb Wells, like it's just been so plotting and just, oh my God. Like, I don't think they've gotten Spider-Man right in a long time. I think the last time they had Spider-Man right was probably the Brand New Day, like when that first was going on, and Joe Kelly was a part of that. And the book came out 3 times a month, and it had a rotating team of artists and writers, and there was like a writer's room. I feel like Joe Kelly's bringing that idea back into the thing, but the thing is, this is like an 8-part story. It's like an 8 or 9-part story. So why are we already? I understand having to have a different artist, but why we already got a different writer on here? The book comes out twice a month. Joe Kelly, of course, is a busy guy. He's 1/4 of Man of Action, along with our homie Joe Casey, co-creator of Ben 10. So he's a guy out there doing things. Joe Kelly's a really solid writer. I think that Joe Kelly and Christopher Priest are the most responsible for the Deadpool that people know and love today.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like much respect to Rob Liefeld for creating that character. Much respect to Fabian Nicieza for helping flesh that character out. But what Joe Kelly and what Christopher Priest did in that Deadpool run in the 90s, man, that's what really cemented this character, right? And then you have Ed McGuinness, so it's like a reuniting of that team, right? Now here you got Gleb, and I've never said that dude's name right? Ever. But when I was training to be a preacher, there are a lot of weird names you got to say. And I remember my teachers telling me, oh, just say it like you know that that's how it's pronounced, because nobody else listening knows how to pronounce it either, right? Though I get corrected all the time. In fact, I've just recently switched to saying Constantine instead of Constantine because I got tired of being corrected about that. And now I got people correcting me on that, telling me it's Constantine. And I'm like, man, tomato, Miller, Millar, who cares? It is what it is. I don't know. I didn't like the book. I thought that it didn't really... The first 2 issues, at least, well, the first issue really gives us the sense of like the weight and the torturous aspect of him like going through these deaths, right? This one kind of breezes by it real quick. I didn't really like it. Yet another, hey, you remember when Gwen Stacy died? You remember when you remember all the tragedy in Peter's life? Yeah, no shit. We know the story of Spider-Man. Give us something exciting. Give us something energetic and go for it. That being said, I think Gleb is a talented artist, but I've never really responded to his work so well as I did in this issue. I think this is the best work I have seen from him in his career so far.
And that was arguably
I thought sucked. So there you go.
Well, the artwork is definitely what kept me in this book, man, because I feel like he's drawing off of 3 of Spider-Man's arguably best artists, right? There you could definitely see some John Romita Jr. influence in there. You could definitely see Humberto Ramos, and it didn't hit me until after I had already talked about it and recorded my video, but you see a lot of Mike Waringo in his work too.
I have Ringo, yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
And that was my dude. That was my Spider-Man artist. So when I saw this, I had to put a little bit of respect on it. And the reality is with this issue, is we know this is an in-betweener, you know, this isn't the run, this isn't the creative team that's going to be taking over the next huge run of this book. So for what it was worth, I appreciated it. But Stu, what were your thoughts here? Am I the only appreciator?
Well, same boat, man. I haven't read any ASM in forever, so I just started with this new arc. Is Kelly and McGinnis coming back?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
And they're also doing point issues again. Like Marvel still thinks that's a fucking cool thing to do.
No.
I don't know.
There's like there's a Spider-Man something point deaths issue coming out. This feels like that could have been more of that, right? Like that could have been one of those. And I don't know. I just felt like it really kind of pulled it. I don't know.
This feels so weird for like the ASM title. This feels like a weird like spin-off series or something that you know would exist on like a lower tier or something like that. It's just bizarre. And given the strength of books like Spider-Man Reign and Ultimate Spider-Man, it's just kind of sad to see the state of this flagship title to me. But regardless, I did really appreciate and love obviously McGinnis's artwork early on. That definitely drew me in, and I agree with you both. I think it was super competent here, but this was like, I thought the weakest of these Crimson Sidorak avatars that he had to face. But I did like the little, can we talk about the twist at the end since we never talk about ASM? Is he going to be,
go ahead, let's ruin this issue.
I'm here for I'm here for a Juggernaut Spidey issue and all the cool throwbacks we could get with that. Do you think that's where they're going? Like, because you know, him on the couch all zoned out. I'm getting ready for what? Magic said, like,
I've already seen the solicits, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, ever since the 80s, the Roger Stern run, he has that big famous story arc with the Juggernaut, right? Mm-hmm. And then you were talking about John Romita Jr. earlier, right? John Romita Jr. has a really great bit there. I think it was called, what was it called? Oh, I don't remember now, but it was like a crossover at the time between like Iron Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Thor. And Romita Jr. was doing Thor and Peter Parker Spider-Man at the same time. So there was a cool crossover there. Juggernaut versus Spidey, that's always cool. And yeah, we're going to get that. And I hope we get it by Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness, because that's going to look great, man.
Yeah.
What did you all think about the incredibly Bill and Ted-esque ending to this issue? Oh, did you guys not pick up on?
Did Kid Cudi show up and say station? What happened, man? I don't remember.
I missed
it. My God. Are you kidding me? The only reason he's able to defeat the Minion of Sidorak is by making sure that he remembers to travel back in time to punch her through a portal that gets opened. It's the same thing as like, you know, we got to remember to come back in time so that we could put these trash cans over the police officers' heads. I was like, you stole that right out of Bill and Ted, you son of a bitch. I can't believe you.
Yeah, it makes this issue weaker, actually, in my opinion, man. I mean, Bill and Ted, it's funny because that's the vibe of the movie, right? Yeah. But here, I mean, this is, come on, y'all. This is Amazing Spider-Man, dude. This is, and I will say this, though. I am kind of proud of this. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man in the last couple months has now topped Amazing Spider-Man in sales for me to become the #1 selling book at my personal comic shop that I run. And I'm happy for that. I'm happy to have a good book be the #1 seller, not some bullshit like Chip Zdarsky's Batman or Zeb Wells' Spider-Man. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't enamored with this one. I'm glad y'all liked it, though. I really did.
Well,
I think y'all are being very kind, to be honest with you.
Enamored, no. But, you know, the honest to God truth is there's not a lot of Marvel to pick from nowadays. And I will take what I can get when it's a halfway decent book here. So with the books that we had, I think this was worthwhile talking about.
And it's just a placeholder, right? You mentioned, Stu, that it kind of feels weird for Spider-Man to be in this kind of a story, but it's a placeholder because the rumors are that they're about to announce a really big flagship team on this book, right? Because they're about to have to compete with Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb coming back on Batman. And they already know those numbers that are going to come out of that. You know what I'm saying? So the rumor mill is saying that there's going to be a major creative team announced on Amazing Spider-Man very, very soon.
Okay.
That's a hard one to even predict. Like, honestly, like, do you guys have any dream team? I don't know if I have one.
I don't. How about you, Robbie? I don't
know, man. A dream team on Spider-Man. I only feel like they're gonna. What I feel is like they're gonna hot shot and give it to people that people thought should have had it before. That probably the time has passed. Like maybe a Brian Michael Bendis or a Donny Cates or something like that.
Having him make his triumphant return to comics, bringing back on Spider-Man, that would be kind of crazy.
That would be interesting, but I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, Fable, of course, he's got a good suggestion here.
But
Kelly
that wouldn't be
Thompson.
hot shotting though, man. They want to make like right now at Marvel, it would be like Hickman and Chiquetto. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's how I feel Marvel works right now. They're like, Ultimate Spider-Man's working. Let's ruin that book and put them over on Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, basically. No kidding, man. Either way, best of luck to them with the editorial team that they're going to be shackled with. Good luck. Y'all ready to move on to DC?
Yes.
Let's
Amen.
please, God.
Let's do it.
All right. Moving over to the distinguished competition. Let's start off with Batman Dark Patterns #1. Stu, I talked a lot about the other ones, man. You want to go ahead and take this?
Yeah, dude, this was brilliant. Obviously high hopes right off the bat for this one with the creative team, Dan Waters writing, Hayden Sherman, who's absolutely killing it on Absolute Wonder Woman, which we talked about last night on Absolute Book Club. Check us out on the rewind. But yeah, it really gets back to nitty gritty detective Batman, right? Sherman's artwork again here, doing a lot of the same things he's doing in Absolute Wonder Woman, but just on a whole nother level. But the paneling, the color work, like the scenes, when we first see, like, walk in and see that body there on the bottom right. Fantastic. But yeah, he walks in, he basically is investigating this crime. This dude's been murdered, has all this all these things like medically stuck in him, right? The cleanness of the procedures, and it's obviously somebody with a medical background. I like the kooky old doctor they have there that Gordon has there with him investigating the crime. That means like Gordon outside. I don't like this dude.
Who remembers that guy's name? Because I think his name is Red Herring. But
yeah, no kidding, right?
Batman's like, I don't like the way he slobbers.
You see it in the pan. I remember before they even said it right there. I was like, ew, dude, did they draw some drool on there? That is nasty. And Batman's like, did they draw drool? That was nasty. I'm like, yeah, I know, right, Batman?
Yeah. But yeah, so a fantastic intro. Batman's he takes off. He doesn't really want to, sojourn or talk with these two. He knows there's been 3 murders, and the pattern of that will lead him, to where he needs to go. He heads back to where the first murder, or the law office of the first murder. He wants to start there because he thinks there's a personal tie between the victim and whoever committed the act. And great scene with him fighting off a bunch of cops who just keep on coming. Obviously this place is kind of overprotected and people are trying to hide something. But yeah, very year one moment. He gets shot there, and I just love him getting shot there, and then back in the Batcave getting sewn up by Alfred. And again, Sherman's artwork just so good, not only with the action, but back in the Batcave, the way they choose to stage the page and give us all these slanted panels and great close-ups of him doing surgery, and then pull outs of the cave at large, and then close-ups in with Alfred and him helping him out. But so continues on, and he eventually on the case gets attacked by, what was this guy's name? The Wound Man?
Yeah, the Wound Man, dude. That's a Dan Waters invention right there, isn't it?
No,
That's such a Dan Waters character, man.
Yeah. As he's engaged in combat with this dude, he realizes if he punches him in the throat, he's got nails in his throat, he's going to kill him. Like if he hits him, he's going to kill him. So he refrains from doing so, but the guy doesn't have a problem beating up on him. So yeah, it is a very Dan Waters character. I think that's the best way to describe it, but it's fucking wild, the look of it. And it's like, it was a total shock to see, and then Bruce kind of doing the research, pulling out the old medical journal. And I don't know. I love the like the dark detective feel like I love how we're going back to the roots. It felt very early Batman, and Sherman's artwork just really stole the show for me. But I can't wait to see where this one goes. How'd you feel about it, bro?
I loved it. I think that Sherman, like Dan Waters, we knew was going to write a fantastic story, but Sherman, knowing what his knowing what their artistic background was previously, like in books like The Few and Thumbs, and knowing how that has evolved, even with Absolute Wonder Woman, the work they're doing in Absolute Wonder Woman looks different than this. It's like they're taking that approach and really massaging it and changing it based on the type of story that's being told and the writer for that particular story. This feels like it has influences of like Jean-Paul Leon and influences of Mike Allred in there. It's
Norman
darker.
Brayfogle for sure. I think
Oh,
too.
Yeah, there's just like really fantastic things that they're doing here. But I love mostly, and this is something that does carry over from Absolute Wonder Woman, their paneling, their layouts, the composition of each page is so different and so unique from all the other comics that we're getting nowadays, where it's just, boom, 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 you make your little Z shape and you follow your eyes. No, it's a piece of art that you're taking in and it just like flows through the story. I loved it. Now, regarding the story, did you guys really dig this villain? Because all I could think to myself is that any other vigilante would have given him a little boop on the nose and be like, oh, he's dead now. Story's over. It's a one shot. It wasn't really a mini series. Like we didn't have to do this.
I liked the villain, but I do think it was silly when Batman's like, I can't punch him, but he's punching me. All right. If you're getting in a fight with Batman and you get all this shit in you, you're going to come out of there with some damage, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is such a Dan Waters villain, like somebody who like is torturing themselves, right? Like they I kind of like it. And I imagine that Batman's taken aback by that at first, because at first he probably just thinks this is a disco themed villain or some shit like that. Like, what is this disco ball coming into Gotham? So I'll forgive it for that. But
it's a perfect Batman villain too, because like, of all the superheroes we talk about, most of them have that no kill rule, but the one we talk about specifically is Batman. No killing, cannot do it, won't happen. So
yeah,
it's perfectly crafted for him himself. But if this dude wanted to roll over to like any other city in the DC universe, somebody out there would have, like, even if it wasn't malicious, they trip over their own feet and they hit one of those pieces of rebar, that dude's done. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, so
and it ties into the theme too, right? The idea that he's going after these people who have been wounded, right? At some point, like emotionally, Batman's an emotionally wounded character. So I think that this is going to develop thematically into something really, really profound and resonant.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. It's shaping up to be a fantastic Batman series. We are just swimming in good Batman right now for the most part. And most of them come through ancillary series, not necessarily the main stuff. I really do like what Tom Taylor is doing in Detective. I think that's had a really, really strong start so far, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we got a lot of good Batman right
Not
now.
just like how like books like Absolute Batman has all those Frank Miller vibes, and Batman and Robin with Sam Neill and Wade has all those Batman Year One vibes. I love how we're like all these books are giving great callbacks to all the classic Batman that came before him, but also doing something brilliant and brand new. So it's a good time to be a Batman fan.
Well, and in my opinion, I think the most successful Batman stories do come from a particular time era, because I think they specifically put this in like a year 3 kind of time frame, right? Like he's not like year 1 Batman, but a couple years in.
Yeah.
An imperfect Batman, I think, is the best Batman, because right now he's become too perfect. He's become too precise and too clean. He has an answer for too many things, where this version of Batman doesn't fall under those same pretenses. And I think that makes for a more entertaining story.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
one of the best moments in Batman Year One, which I think is one of the greatest Batman stories of all time and one of the greatest comic books ever made, is the moment where that dude hits him over the head with the TV.
Yeah.
And he realizes he fucks up and he accidentally kills that guy, right? So we're like, I love the fact, first of all, I love that you alluded to this, Stu, that this is a detective story. And I remember Rom telling me, I'm so jealous of what Dan's doing with his Batman book, because I did Detective Comics and I don't feel like I did a detective story, right? But this is a detective story. It's going into that element, right? Also, I love that Dan is setting this in year 3. We've seen tons of stuff set during year 1. We've seen tons of stuff set during year 2. We don't typically see year 3 stuff without Robin being involved, because year 3 is the year that Robin gets involved, right? You got the big emblem, the big, oval over the bat, and it's intentionally crafted to be anybody's first Batman comic. Anybody can jump into here. You know who Batman is. This is going to be an intriguing character. It could be a sequel to Batman 89 if you wanted to look at it that way, right? It was amazing. And just to echo what y'all said about Hayden, I've been following Hayden's career since they did a book called Cold War over at Aftershock, right? That eventually led to their work with Sean Lewis on The Few and Thumbs and Above Snakes, and then Wasted Space with Michael Morisi, one of my favorite comics of all time. I was able to get that giant hardcover collection. I have every single issue of it. Wasted Space was my favorite book when that was coming out, and it really helped like cement Vault as a power to contend with at that time. Nowadays, not so much, right? But Hayden has always blown my mind with how they always shift and change their style to adapt what the story needs. You look at Wasted Space, it's very rough. And it's very similar to their art on things like Cold War or Mary Shelley, Frankenstein Monster Hunter. If anybody's never read Mary Shelley, Monster Hunter, you got to read that book. Hayden, I believe, does their own coloring in that book, and Hayden does coloring on some of their work, but not all of them. Triona Farrell does an amazing job, by the way, with the color choices here.
Absolutely.
The spotting of blacks, the composition by Hayden, like y'all talked about. Hayden is profound. We were talking about Mark Bagley and John Romita Jr. being workhorses. Hayden is able right now in their prime to do 2 monthly books a month. And it's completely different. It's got a completely different stylistic tone, atmosphere, and identity than Absolute Wonder Woman. Look at their work on Wildfire, right? Look at their work on Dungeon. You can look at every single book that Hayden has done, and they're all different. It's insane to me, the output from Hayden, the prolific nature of Hayden's work, but also the adaptability of Hayden's work. Long, narrow panels, and can you tell me a better cityscape in a comic that's come out this year? Because I can't. I can't. No, it's this. It's gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous book.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only person who could have done this book outside of Hayden may have been Danny. Because if you look at Danny and Dan Waters on Coffin Bound, we got to make this for DC fans, right? So we got to tone it down just a little bit. But what is the original idea of the Wound Man? You know what I'm saying? Like, think of Coffin Bound and think about how gnarly this could have actually have gone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is a very, just call it horror tinged is probably an understatement, right? But it's leaning very macabre, but I appreciate that. The other thing about Sherman too, recently repped by Felix Art. So kudos to you, Hayden.
Yeah, that means when I see Hayden at a con and I bring my hardcover, they'll do a sketch for me. That's awesome.
Dude, I've been so curious to know how they work, right? Whether it's digital or traditional too. So I cannot wait to see.
Well, if Felix has got a hold of them, then
it's out of my price range.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's true too. But I mean, listen, if I can just set my eyes on it, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah.
I would love to see an artist edition of Hayden's work. That would be great.
Crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to the next issue here, we got Fable saying, I became a Morisi fan after Wasted Space. Dude, same. Me and you, brother. Can't believe he hasn't been tapped for a big 2-book yet. Dude,
yeah, well, they started at DC a couple years ago with like some small little stories here and there. And I knew that Hayden was going to blow up at DC because right now DC is the one. And I'm saying this as a fan. I'm saying this as a retailer. I'm saying this as a reviewer. And I'm also saying this because I've heard people in the industry tell me this. DC is a lot more free to work in right now for creators, right? Their page rates are a little bit better. They allow you to actually create and cook. And I think it's coming across because the DC universe as a whole feels very cohesive right now compared to Marvel, doesn't it? Because right now with Marvel, we're doing this whole Doom thing, right? Doom Sorcerer Supreme. Okay. Do you really feel that in the Marvel books right now?
No,
not even in the Spider-Man book, really, right? Because it's just an excuse to create a new Spider-Man action figure. honestly, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I feel like DC is very cohesive right now, which is weird because they don't have so much editorial oversight. But maybe that's the fucking reason, right? Is there's not somebody there dictating and micromanaging, and these creators are allowed to create. I mean, there's a reason why Rom V left Carnage and kept writing Detective Comics. There's a reason, and I think it shows in the work. It really, really does.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. All right. Let's move on to our next DC book here, which is the Superwoman Special Numero Uno, written primarily, I believe Joshua Williamson wrote the entire book here. The artist primarily was Edwin Gelman, though. There was a couple different art changes here and there, though, but mostly by Edwin. This, I thought, was a really cool introduction to kind of the background of Lois Lane being the Superwoman character, which has been slightly controversial. Some people have not really dug it too much here, and I partially get it. I partially don't. I do think that it makes sense and it could be fun. I don't know if I jive with the fact that like everyone around the Kents are basically super people at this point, though. That's a little so-so. I did like the way that this issue started off, though, and it was one of the things that, Stu, you and I both talked about with the issue of Absolute Superman here, where we were talking about the meaning of a character, the background of a character, and what it truly means to personify them. And it came down to Lois Lane kind of being personified in Absolute as, oh, words, I type words. This at least showed the frustration behind her trying to get a story out, right? Trying to craft the thing, trying to tell the story in the proper, precise way that only Lois Lane can do. Within a couple pages of this, I was just like, dude, Joshua Williamson gets it so much more than the Absolute Universe version of Lois right now, because they were trying to shoehorn what she does as a job rather than what she is as a person. And I very much appreciated that right from the get-go. Seeing her interactions with the super heroic people around her, the other super women, was really awesome as well. And I love that this introduced the idea of her being a super person to all of them, to Clark, the family, and kind of coming to terms with what that means and the joy and excitement of that, because it's a Superman book or it's a super people book, right? It should be. It should have that tone. It should have that feeling of joy, of happiness, of not necessarily the weight of being a superhero and the responsibility, but like the joy of having that responsibility, of knowing that it's up to you to save people's lives. I really appreciated that and enjoyed that out of this issue. And just like other issues that we talked about, I thought that this had a really entertaining cliffhanger that made me go, oh, there's something more to this story that makes this ultimately way more exciting than I ever thought it could have been. Stu, I'll kick it over to you though. Did you read this, and what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I read it. I liked it. I haven't liked it nearly as much as her appearances in like the Superman book, though. I've really enjoyed that. Like we were talking about that scene when, you know, her and Clark were both going to change, responding, you know, in the same mop room or whatever. I don't know. So the writing wasn't, you know, as strong as I felt like it's been in the Superman book for her character. But still some cool moments. I thought the art was pretty solid. And I did like the twist at the end. I thought that was very interesting. But I don't know, man. I felt like the book at a certain point was kind of treading water. We were kind of doing the same things over and over again. And
yeah,
it felt a little aimless. But you know, I guess the end is what we wanted to get across here, you know, at the end of the day, and the story we wanted to set up. So I'm interested to see that play out in the pages of, I guess, Superman.
Yeah, I would assume so. But I felt like this was an issue of tiny moments.
Yeah,
go ahead.
For sure. And I do love Lois as Superwoman. I know it's gonna, you know, that arc's not gonna last forever, but I have loved her and the character, and you know, being one of the super people.
Yeah, Robbie, what were your thoughts, man?
I absolutely hate the idea of Lois Lane being Superwoman. I hate it. It's so stupid to me, right? Especially because like they always Lois Lane all of a sudden gets superpowers. She knows exactly what to do with them. She feels like she's trained. Now they show a little bit of that training here, right? And all that kind of stuff. But I absolutely detest the idea of Lois Lane being Superman. I hate the fact that Lana Lang is a superwoman. I hate that. I hate that so much, right? I feel like it diminishes the other super family members, right? I feel like it diminishes Kara. I feel like it diminishes Power Girl. I feel like it just doesn't help. God damn it. Josh knows how to write this character. Josh knows how to make it exciting. Josh knows how to make it work. Now, I agree with exactly what Stu was saying. This issue started feeling like it was treading water, like it had a page count that it didn't really earn, right?
Yeah.
And they had to kind of fill it in, right? But that being said, and Josh, I consider Josh a homie. Josh is a super cool dude. Big fan of all of us, right? Like, but man, he's still making me excited for this, right? Like, I hate the idea of Lois Lane as Superwoman, unless it's something like Earth 3 or Grant Morrison, Earth 2, or Grant doing All-Star Superman, where she gets superpowers for a day to see how Superman deals with it. But right,
So
but she's jumping right in. She's acting like she's fine, but not to keep shitting on Marvel, but they're doing the same thing right now with Mary Jane and Spider-Man.
Jackpot.
She's
I was thinking the same thing.
And here's the thing, though. At least here they're trying to show us that Clark is trying to teach her how to use these powers. She's got experience seeing him utilize these powers. Mary Jane doesn't know what power she's going to get. Electricity, I know how to do exactly what I need to do with it. That's stupid to me. I think that's so stupid, and we need to stop the jackpot shit, y'all. You're ruining it. And if Paul is the new Venom, I'm going to laugh because that's the ultimate Marvel troll.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
That
Paul
being said, I didn't think this issue was warranted. I think this could have been handled in the main book, but they needed to have a Superwoman book. They probably have to have a Superwoman book every so often to keep that trademark or something, right? But it's the ending. And I appreciate that y'all aren't trying to spoil it, so I won't spoil it. But
no, we can spoil it. I just
spoil this. What do you think about it?
The whole thing is this, right? Like, because of absolute power, the idea is that all their powers were taken away from all the heroes in the DC universe, right? And then they all come back, but they all come back different, right? Or not all of them, but some of them. Some people's powers go to another person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's Superman powers went to to Lois, and the whole time we're wondering whose powers she's taken, and that's the point of this issue to me.
Yeah,
is to be like, well, Superman's got his powers, Supergirl's got powers, Power Girl's got powers, Superboy's got powers, Jonathan's got powers, new Superman in China's got power. Whose power? Crypto's got powers. Who? It's fucking Zod. Are you serious? And then after the Joe Casey run that he just did on Kneel Before Zod, Zod is back to that level of threat that he's never been in the comics before, and he really has deserved to be at that level. Bruh, I cannot wait to see Zod come back to wreck some shit, man. Yeah. I am so pumped. Josh, you're doing a great job. You're killing it, man. The Superman stuff so made. And the best decision DC's made since they decided to give Superman to Josh Williamson is to put Dan Mora on that book, yo. Like, I've been pleading for years for DC to put Dan Mora on Justice League or Superman, and they gave me both. I can't believe it.
So crazy.
Yeah, the ending really defined this issue. I had said it earlier. This was an issue of tiny moments, and I appreciated all those tiny moments and getting to know Lois in her new power set and the relationships. But that ending is what defined it, where I was like, oh, yeah, it was so obvious, but I also didn't see it coming at all. It made it really, really, really fun, right? And sometimes that's all I want out of a comic book. Take me on an adventure, give me a little bit of fun. We're all good with that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him like attack her and go ham on her and her powers start to fritz out like they have at some points. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like so shaky. I can't wait.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see here. We got Fable saying to the previous stuff here. Yeah, agreed. Nothing is stuck at Marvel besides the Krakoan era in the last few years. Yeah, that's rough, man. That's absolutely true, because we're pretty darn removed from that time frame now. And just, all we want is a good Marvel book. It's not too much to ask for.
Well,
we got Cheel saying it's like making David Arquette WCW champion. That's a real thing that happened, I'm assuming, right? I can't say that I know the mythos.
I vaguely remember that.
Oof.
I disagree with that statement, but I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one here. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next round of books here, which happen to be our outing for the indies. We're going to kick off once Robbie gets back here with The City Beneath Her Feet, which happened to be his pick of the week for that week. I'll go ahead and I'll start talking about this issue here, though. Written by James Tynion IV with artwork by Elsa Chartier. This was an interesting one. This was one of the better outings, I feel like, from Distillery Books here, which kind of been hit and miss for me. So, some have worked, some maybe not so much. The quality of each book has been outstanding. In regard to like the page, the cover stock, all that kind of stuff. Every issue has not hit for me though, but this was a hit. This one definitely worked for me. And it takes us on a journey, a love story, if you will, maybe not so great love story where we're introduced to a character who's telling the meeting of one of these individuals here who is very, very privileged in her actions and the things that she is doing. Goes to a party which she happens to just go ahead and take a bunch of people out at, very casually, very cool, as she downs her hot dog and shrimp and has a lot of fun doing so. Meets up with an individual after she's injured, ends up taking her home, caring for her, getting stitched up, getting everything taken care of, only to then pass away and leave everything to this particular individual. And this person has to kind of come to terms with what that means and what it means to now have all of this, I don't know, privilege laid upon them, albeit with the mystery behind who this person is also kind of left at her doorstep. So, Robbie, this was your pick, man. I'll start with you. Give us the background. Tell us what you thought.
I loved this book. Now, Distillery's been doing some stuff, and for the most part, I think Distillery's been solid-esque, right? And I think this week, I think they released like 3 books at the same time, right? And like Warm Fusion was one of them. It didn't really work for me. They did their little holiday special Through the Bows or whatever, and it had things that were really cool, right? And when Distillery came out, they were making a big deal about being creator-owned, and all the creators were kind of part of it and all this kind of stuff. But I don't feel like they've really lived up to the hype, right? The only Distillery book that's really made me take notice was, what's the one that Jamie McKelvey did? The one that follows?
One for Sorrow.
One for Sorrow, yeah.
One for Sorrow was awesome.
I loved that book. I thought it was cool, right?
Yeah.
But this book blew my ass off, man. I loved this book so much. First of all, Elsa's artwork is exceptional, right? Now, we have always known that Elsa, what's up, Taka? We've always known that Elsa is a really great artist. Unfortunately, she gets put on like boring books that nobody cares about written by Tom King, stuff like that, right? But this one, she's working with Tynion, and Tynion is a verbose writer. Not in this issue. It had a great flow for the page count, right? And really, Tynion was allowing, and this is something that James is learning, and I'm really excited to talk to him about it when I meet him at MegaCon, but like, James is learning how to work with his artists, right? And he started this with Something is Killing the Children, because that book's not a wordy book. And he was like really working with Werther Dell'Edera, right? To like fit the style. This is Elsa's baby. You can feel it, right? You can tell, right? And the book has a great sense of fun, a buoyant sense of fun, right? But it's also got this like tragic kind of undertone to it. But it's kind of subdued throughout the book because the book is very charming and sexy and fun, right?
Yes.
And then you get to the end and then you realize it's tragedy, right? So it's such a cool book. And Jordi Belair, who has been one of the best colorists in the biz over the last 10 years, right? And lately, Jordi's been kind of disappointing me. What Jordi's trying to do with this like 60s, like paperback pocket novel kind of color, right? That she's been trying to do with like Birds of Prey, but it's not working for me there. It's perfectly perfect here, right? And I think working with Elsa has really leveled Jordi up because Elsa's line work is so simple, yet so deliberate, right? That your coloring has to be the same way. And Jordi's choices, like look at that page you got there. Like all the yellow. Yellow looks terrible. Yellow is like my least favorite color. in especially in comics, right? It works so well here because of the way it's chosen to go up against the purple, not just purple, like a lavender purple, and that really light blue, and that like very light burnt orange red, right? Like the color choices are amazing. Then we add in Aditya Bidikar. I mean, you got one of the absolute best writers, best artists, best colorists, best letterers on a book. Top notch. I love this book. It blew me away. And I had a comment on my video when I made this the pick of the week saying, stop picking distillery books. They suck. And I'm like, this one doesn't. How about that? This is one of the best single first issues I've read this year. It blew me away, man.
That's incredibly silly. How many distillery books have you picked for pick of the week?
Two.
Yeah, come on.
Two,
now.
including this one. The other one was One for Sorrow. Right. So
yeah, both incredibly worthy of those standards.
Absolutely.
Like this was a really good book.
Yeah, and I get the criticism. They take too long to come out, all that kind of stuff. Other people, here's people's biggest problems with distillery. Same problem they had when DC Black Label started.
Where do I put this?
You mean I got to buy a new box?
Yep.
I got to get new bags and boards? Get the fuck out of here. Like, come on. Do you love comics or do you just love things that are made in this little fucking size? Do you love paying $5 for 20-page pamphlets? Like, that's what you love? Is that the thing you love? Or do you love this medium? Do you love it when somebody gets an extended format like this? This is how European comics are made, Joe. This is the European format, right? And it works for a reason. But when you have an artist, look at that spread. Elsa's using the space. Now, we've read distillery books, Warm Fusion's one, where the artist doesn't use the space. This book has to exist in this format because of the way it's made, right? And Elsa knows how to work in that because, surprise, she's French. And the French, dude, some of the best comics that nobody even knows about come from France. Black Sad, all the Mobius work. And then I'm sure there's a ton more because even me, being Rockin' Robbie, a PCP, I don't have access to a lot of that stuff, right? But man, they've been knowing how to make comic books in Europe for decades. And we do not need to discount this format or this style of storytelling. And it works. And if you don't want to buy a new box, you don't want to do that, who gives a shit? That's fine. Spend $30 when it's all said and done. Get the gorgeous hardcover that's going to come out. Because this is going to be beautiful. I hope I hope that James can continue the intrigue in the story as we follow this journey, man. This book blew me away. I fucking loved it. And if you don't like the size or all that shit, get over yourself, man. Get over yourself. Seriously. Comics are more than what you think they are. They can we need to allow them to be more.
Yeah. Go get some Seven Sword of Conan, dude. Come on now.
Bingo. Yeah, you don't hear anyone complaining about Savage Sword every time it comes out because again, just like this, fantastically produced, well thought out piece of artwork. Stu, what did you think about this issue though?
Yeah, I loved it, man. I appreciate the recommendation, Robbie, because this is one I would not have picked up on my own or thought to read. But I really enjoyed it. Like you guys said, I love how it went from spy thriller to action to romance to, romance and tragedy kind of. It was wild. I love how it moved from kind of like one genre to the next. I love the way Elsa did violence, honestly. Like that was super dope to see. Like her, I haven't really seen that much. I have seen a bit of her artwork, but nothing like that. So I've
never seen it look so dynamic.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But I gotta second what Robbie said. To me, the star of the show was the colors. I thought it was fantastic and really just made the book sing for me. So yeah, pleasant surprise. Really enjoyed it.
It feels like some of the best moments of like early 70s, late 60s Disney animation, right? Like with the colors and just the action and the way it's moving. Like think about some of the scenes in Aristocats where like the colors start fucking popping. And
yeah.
It's got that kind of appeal and aesthetic to it that I absolutely just eat up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that Elsa is incredibly underappreciated in this medium as well, because we talk about people like one of my personal favorite artists is David Mazzucchelli, and I think that she draws a lot off of the many strengths that David has, particularly their layouts, their use of what they actually put in the panel, right? Because it's not about being Jeff Darrow all the time, right? Every panel and every page does not need every particular detail. Sometimes it's what you leave out of those panels, and sometimes it's where you're leading the reader, where you're leading their eyes, and where you're showing the attention needs to be paid. She does that masterfully. Like, she is one of arguably the best artists right now in regard to storytelling itself. Yeah, perfect. Like pitch perfect. That's what I appreciated so much about this.
Along with Hayden, right?
Hayden, I was about to say same thing. Like what they choose to show you.
Yeah, I know that y'all are both were fans of cartoonist kayfabe, right? And Jeff Darrow was on that show a lot. Jeff Darrow always is very self-deprecating about his level of talent, right? Yeah. And it's crazy to us to think that, because people look at his work and like, holy shit, I can't believe this is all there, right?
Yeah.
But Jeff's kind of right. Not that he's bad, because Jeff is one of the greatest that's ever been. There's a reason why the Wachowskis tapped him to help design the Matrix, right? But like, it's easier to noodle, right? And it's harder to noodle to the refinement that he does, other than say like Todd McFarlane when he's just doing it, right? But noodling is something that like extra detail in comic book art is usually there to hide a lack of storytelling capability, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And this is, I love that you mentioned the Mazzucchelli stuff, because as soon as you said that, with these colors, the simplicity, the deceptive simplicity of the line work, right? That's not easy. Mike Mignola is one of my favorite artists out there. It is not easy. And every artist in the biz will tell you that what Mignola does is levels above what they can do, right? Because they have to show more, to work with less lines. Like, everybody says this shit about Frank Miller, right? Frank Miller being able to do what he can do. Like, let's just look at like some of peak Frank Miller stuff. Sin City, early Sin City. That is harder to do than what he did on Daredevil, right? That's harder to do than what Jeff Darrow did on Hard Boiled. It's harder to do. There's more labor extensive, and intensive to do what Jeff Darrow does on Shaolin Cowboy and stuff like that. But don't be deceived. Just because it looks like she drew this page in 20 minutes, hell no. It is so deliberate and intentional. The pacing, the layout, the choice of the line, and the grace of that line. And when you mentioned Mazzucchelli, these colors, that layout, that simplicity of the line, deceptive it may be, Asterios pops right into my head, man.
Yes, dude.
Right into my head. And I would have never read that book without Dennis Camp's recommendation. So that's another shout out to my boy Dennis. So there you go.
Yeah, and if you look at
he got me on that one. So thank you.
Shout out Robbie, because he got me onto it. So it's like,
here we go. It's a beautiful thing. Full circle.
So, but dude, you look at so many artists and the trajectory of their careers, and a lot of the greats later on come to that same perspective where less is more, right? I'm trying to put as few lines on the paper as possible to get the point conveyed that I need to tell, whether it's Frank Miller, like we talked about, Mike Mignola, Will Eisner, they all follow this. So Elsa doing what she's doing now in the pages of all of the comics that she does, but this one in particular, because we're talking about it, fantastic. And if you don't believe us, go check out her YouTube channel, which has been a little bit dormant for a while, but the videos that she has breaking down artistic choices,
they're great.
Fantastic. There are things that I aspire to be able to do, maybe once I get a better grasp on this wonderful medium that we're talking about.
And her voice is just super sexy. Like, there's something about there's something about her that I'm just like, talk to me about comics, please. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, mommy. Like, you get really confused listening to her sometimes.
Oh man. Okay. Before we get too caught up in all of that is Elsa here, let's go ahead and talk about our next pick, which is, albeit a little bit less sexy, Transformers number 15, written by Daniel Warren Johnson with artwork returning artist Jorge Corona. As far as I'm concerned, man, this was a triumphant return. Not that any of the artistic choices have been bad or misleading or jarring by any means, but this just felt like a return to like a level of fun that I haven't experienced in just a little bit. Man, his artwork was so absolutely kinetic, even in the quiet moments of this issue. So we got a lot that's going on in this issue, right? It was a cooler issue than other ones because we've had a lot of big bombastic moments. We get to see the factions that are really breaking apart and dividing both the Autobots and the Decepticons here. And by the way, I am not a Transformers like aficionado by any means, so I'm not going to be able to pull names out of a hat like some may be. But what I can tell you is that basically we got a faction of the Autobots that are really concerned with Earth and protecting the Earthlings because they understand the impact that their presence have had, right? But we also have a subset of those Autobots that are very concerned now with their home planet, Cybertron, making sure that they continue the fights to make sure that they can protect their own planet, which they call home. On the other side, though, we have the Decepticons, known to be under, Megatron's rule, albeit kind of not so much right now, but they're the traditional Decepticons that we know. And then we have the newly formed faction of Starscream, who is, man, very different and very fucking cool in this.
They made him a Reaver. He's a Reaver.
Dude. Oh my God. When I saw
that to a hiss tank, man. I love it, dude.
Dude, when I saw that panel, holy crap, I put the comic down. I was just like, dude, this is too much. This is everything that I love about comic book storytelling. Like this just made me feel like a kid again, regardless of the level of my fandom for this medium. What Daniel Warren Johnson and Jorge Corona and Mike Spicer and everyone and Russ Wooten, what everyone that's touched Transformers from the very onset of issue number 1 all the way through what we've had right now, they're doing something special. They're doing something incredibly fun, arguably the most fun of any single comic that's had this long of a time period that, the book has been coming out. And damn, if they're not making me a fan here and making me want to drop a bunch of money on, I don't know, trying to keep up with Fable and all of the toys that he's picking up week after week after week. Guys, what I'll let you guys pick who goes first here, man. What did you guys think of this action-packed issue?
Robbie, go ahead, bro.
All right, man. Let me tell you something. Do you remember the day where we all went, "Oh, damn, Daniel Warren Johnson's only illustrating 6 issues of Transformers"?
Yeah, right.
Man, that sucks, dude. We want to talk about taking your style and appropriating it to the book. Jorge Corona. Look at Jorge's work on The Me You Love in the Dark. Look at his work on Middle West, the stuff he does with Scotty Young, right? Mm-hmm. What we think we know of Jorge Corona. Then we see this, and I wouldn't be surprised if anybody looked at this and was like, oh yeah, that's a Daniel Warren Johnson page. If you really look at it, you can tell it's not. Because it's very much Jorge Corona, right? But man, that energy is there, right? Now, of course, the coloring is a big part of that, but man, all right, I'm cool. Jorge Corona, another guy who can do 2 books a month. Like, come on, comic book industry, you're slacking. Jorge, Hayden, Mark, John, they can do it. And Mark and John are veterans. They're like in their 60s. Y'all are crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's taking you like 2.5 months to do a comic, or in my creative collaborators' idea, like, 3 years to do a comic. Get the fuck out of here, man. Like, we can do this. This book was amazing. Going right back into the flow of the story. I love the art. It's distinctly Jorge Corona, but it's so much in the vein of a Daniel Warren Johnson comic, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel gives him thumbnails or something. And I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel adds in a little bit of like toothbrush ink there, right? Now, we just talked about Elsa and the simplicity of the line and David Mazzucchelli and Frank Miller and all that stuff, right? But this is the opposite of that. But do not be deceived. It's not all about intricate detail. It's about grit. It's about texture. And the reason why this book has that grit and that texture is because this is a book about war. You don't want to make a book about war in the style of what Elsa's doing in City Beneath Her Feet. You know what I'm saying? It may not have had the same kind of vibe. You're not going to get that tone. Here you do. You get the idea that these are not just sleek, square-looking robots. In most Transformers comics, if you look at it, it's just like drawing a cube, drawing a head, drawing some wings, right? No, you feel that these are actual organic metal objects. that move and are dynamic and capable of all this exciting motion in the book and explosiveness that's in the book. And then Daniel Warren Johnson, who understands what Transformers is about. Cool ass robots selling toys, but it's a story about war. But more than that, it's a story about how war affects not just the victims, because that's usually the war story we get, how it affects the soldiers, right? That's what this book is about. It's about war versus pacifism versus standing up for what's right. And that you can't just say, I'm a pacifist, or you can't just say, I'm a warmonger. There's got to be a middle ground there. And the middle ground is standing up for what's right. Jack Kirby would tell you, I'll punch the fuck out of a Nazi. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, he wrote tons of stories about peace and togetherness and shit like that, right? So it's not just one or the other. And I love that middle ground that Transformers is striking. It is such an amazing comic. And for 15 issues, it's been fan-fucking-tastic. It's never slacked off. Even in the filler issues, which were giving us Starscream's origin and setting his thread up. Then think about this. We're 15 issues in. I remember when this book first started, I was like, man, they're really holding back a lot of the lore. They're really holding back a lot of the Transformers. Look where we are now. Ultra Magnus has been involved. We got Alita 1, and we got RC involved. We got Blur. We got Transformers. And can you go back to what the panel before? What they did to my boy Ramjet. Come on, get the fuck out of here, man. They are just subverting expectations, right? They're killing characters off. They're making it feel they're making it feel real. They're making it feel weighty. Daniel Warren Johnson is crafting one of the best war comics I have ever read. Definitely the best war comic of 2024 is Transformers. That may be crazy to say, but it's true. And come on, Hasbro, let's get some Daniel Warren Johnson designed action figures coming. I want an Optimus Prime with a Megatron arm. I want a Starscream on a Cobra Hiss tank. The Energon universe slaps. Ultimate Universe is cool. Absolute Universe is cool. They're both just trying to do what the Energon universe is doing way better than they are. Just saying.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Man. This was a catch up for me. I was back on issue 11, so this was a blast. Not a weak issue in my catch up. And like Robbie said, the Starscream issue was so good. I forget what issue it was, but at the beginning of it, when you Beachcomber's on the moon and he hitches the ride back to Earth on the spacecraft, it was just the art, man, just mind blowing from Corona. And even that one issue with Jason Howard, it didn't really miss a beat necessarily. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't even know the story with Ultra Magnus, but I thought that scene when he shows back up and sees old boy and then goes scurrying away was profound. He's like, ha, 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 I've broken his mind, I love.
If you're a Transformers fan, that's the thing, is it gives you so much for a new reader. But if you're familiar with this property, like I am, or like Fable is, right? And Taki's right, I'm Transformers heavy too, but not Fable will get anything. I'm not that fucking ridiculous, but I do buy other things as well, like Motu and TMNT. But if you are a fan, you're like, oh, no way Ultra Magnus would bitch out like that. You know what I'm saying? So I want to know what did they do to him, man? Because that's the dude that took over for Optimus after he died, And dude, in every moment, I feel like anybody can go at any moment in this book. And it's just that's something that is, there's so many books that you read or stories that you watch, right? If you watch a TV show or a movie, certain characters are safe, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like Optimus can go at any moment, even. Honestly, I really, really do. And think about this. Megatron hadn't even really come back yet. We're not even there yet. And then if you add in all the Energon Universe Void Rivals, Unicron's on the horizon, bruh, this is insane shit, dude. This is insane shit.
Yeah, it's so turned me into a fan. I loved it. I could talk about that Starscream issue every week. If we just want to make Ink and Insights the Starscream issue review every single week, you screamed at the stars and made the gods take notice of us, man. What a brilliant fucking line that was, man. And the way that it was delivered and rendered on the page, it was beautiful. And then equally, but more bombastic, when he comes rolling around here, coming right
Oh
at
my
Optimus
God.
here. Yeah, I loved it. This was fantastic. It was so much fun. If you love having fun in a comic book, like, God damn it, go get yourself this book because it's going to be perfect for you. You need this in your life. So,
Yeah.
It's almost
Dude.
like if Jim Lee's X-Men relaunch in the early 90s would have continued the vibe and tone of the first 5 issues for like, I don't know, 15. That would have been great, right? But
Yeah.
we're doing it and we're getting it here and it's so good. None of these Energon books have been late. Kirkman
Yeah, that's
he's hit, dude. They're killing it. They're killing it
Like,
with all their books, man.
that's what he's saying. The consistency and the quality, like that Corona can put out artwork like this and they can still make the schedule is just incredible. Dude, the scene when they're in the Autobots are in the city trying to help the humans and the military shows up and turns on them and Optimus goes like crazy on that tank. Here, blow me up real quick, bro. I just love this panel.
if I knew how to do that,
I got you. Hold on.
You hover above them and hit solo layout.
Yeah, I knew that. There we are.
I just love it's just glorious.
And like,
man.
is he being
Like, the
infected
way-
with Megatron
I don't know,
because
like,
of the arm? Right?
right?
Is
And he's
something
having all
that
these
happening?
like crazy flashbacks, but yeah, man, just incredible stuff.
They're
Yeah.
handling Optimus not as this like messianic figure like they do in the cartoon, right? They're handling him like a dude who's been through a lot of fucking war and has a lot of regrets and guilt over it.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
still feels like he has to keep doing it. That's why I love the thing about Beachcomber and Cliff Jumper being like, no, we're not going to fight. We're not going to kill. And Optimus is like, but that's kind of the point. You can't just make that. It's easy to be like, you know what? There's injustice in the world. There's terrible things going on, but you know what? I'm a pacifist. I ain't going to get involved. Blah, 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 blah. I'm protecting my mind and all that. But at a certain point, you got to be like, but what are you doing except for just hiding right now, and ignoring the problem? And
Yeah, are you going to be an instigator of change,
I
or are you
love
going to
that.
stand on the sidelines?
exactly.
I love that when they kill the dude and then he's asking Cliff Jumper, he's like, since when did you get all mushy about a Decepticon? And he's got that like the emotive face, like he just kind of looks like ashamed almost. It's
Yeah,
great.
and it's showing you like Blue Streak is like Cybertron's been in war for hundreds of years, right? And that's something that's in the show, the original show, but because it's a kids show, it doesn't really come across with the weight and the gravitas that it does here. But it really does. But you see, like, it's sad when you see Blue Streak where he is. But at the same time, it's sad when you see Cliff Jumper not jump into action when he could be the hero that he should be, right? I love Transformers so much. It's one of the best books of the year, has been for 2 years.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more, and no better place to go ahead and call it on this issue. If you haven't gotten this, do yourself a favor, go pick this one up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Stu, buddy, I'm going to start off with you here as we jump into our covers of the week here, and it's only fitting because we were just talking about Transformers here. This was your first pick, man.
Jorge Corona with the spoiler variant, I believe this one's called. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight him because of the the awesome job he's doing on this book and the year he's had. Ain't No Grave was incredible, and such diversity among art styles, and just great to see him shine. So yeah, wanted to show some love to him. With Transformers number 15, that's a variant. Then we had Giacchetto doing Ultimate X-Men variant. I thought this was beautiful. Just wanted to highlight that. I like how they kind of let, I think Peach did a Spider-Man and Black Cat, they let the Ultimate artist kind of play around with different properties in the universe. I thought that was dope. Then Robbie, man, I wanted to throw this one up. Talk about your boy real quick. This was so cool.
All right, man. Mark Spears. I know a lot of people think I'm kayfabing this shit. Me and Mark have known each other for over 20 years, right? We used to work together at a comic shop. Mark is a homie of mine. I have seen this dude's career go from struggling to making some money, doing some certain things. He went from trying to get a gig in a comic book. I remember his first published professional gig was a Big Bang Comics back in the late 90s. We were all so proud of him, right? It was the same time my boy Kevin was breaking into the industry, and Image was Shut Up and Die and stuff like that, right? It was a really exciting time. And then Mark started doing he was designing like statues for like Marvel Comics, right? Then he started doing like sketch cards, like, you know, those 1-of-1 sketch cards you get in a trading card set. He started doing those. Then he started doing, because down here, this is really popular, but if you could do a spread of like a famous moment in an Alabama football game, you can make a lot of money selling those prints, right? So he started doing that. That's when he started developing this new style. And then because of his work in particular on Spawn, this dude is blown up. He's on the top 10 list every single week. He is the biggest artist of 2024, and it's a personal friend of mine, and I'm so excited. We got him on the channel tomorrow night on Pop Culture Philosophers, 6 p.m. Central. We're going to be talking with him, having a nice chat, just two old homies, breaking it down. He's got a Kickstarter about to end. His monster book is fantastic, and all these covers.
Big year for him.
Let me tell you something about this cover in particular. 2 covers, by the way. He, by the way, was the one that convinced DC to release both books, like both covers, as variant covers. Because they just did the thing with Superman where he did one half and then the next issue of Action Comics is the second half, right? But on this one, he's like, no, you got to put them together. This is great. And also, I've seen Mark criticized by friends of ours and people on the internet as using a lot of blue. So when he did this one, I remember him walking into the shop and he was like, I want to show you all this. And he showed us this image, right, on his phone, right? And he's like, this is my Green Lantern cover I'm working on. They want to split it up into 2 issues, but I'm going to try to convince him to do it just for the one, which he did successfully because he's one of the biggest artists out there. He also, I knew he was doing Spawn 77 like last year way before it was announced. And I cannot wait for y'all to see Spawn 77. It's going to be great. And I hope that my friendship with Mark can get me in a little bit more with Todd McFarlane. That would be great. Mark, I will talk more about that tomorrow. But he brought this up. And so y'all know Faux Robbie. So Faux Robbie is actually Davey. He's a kid that works for me at the comic shop, right? And he always bitches about Mark's work having too much blue in it, right? Because if you look, Mark does love blue, right? You can see it in his work. He loves the color blue. And he showed us this one and he just goes, where's that fucking kid at? Where's that little fucking kid at? Right. And like, I'm like, here he is. And he goes, look at this. He goes, I hate greened. I hate colored this book thinking of you. And he goes, and then fucking little shit Davey goes, well, you still use some blue, homie.
Oh my God.
But Davey had actually said to him one time, bruh, it's Green Lantern. Why is the cover all blue? It's that John Stewart badass cover. I think it's one of the best pieces Mark's ever done, right?
That was a great
one. So he
did
this one. He goes, where's the fucking blue, motherfucker? He literally was like, I hate colored this book thinking of you. But Mark's super cool. And this is such a great book that really spotlights 5 of the 20 billion Earth-centric Green Lanterns out there. I guess he couldn't fit them all on 2 covers. So I guess Simon and Kyle are coming up on another cover at some point. But I'm so proud of him. And Joe. He's gone into like Alex Ross type territory in a way. So I'm really excited to talk about him, to talk with him tomorrow. And I'm really proud of his work. And this was my covers of the week last week for sure. He missed out on it this week though, because the Superman cover had a lot of fucking blue on it. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he's having an incredible year though.
Yeah. Plus New Gods had an acetate cover without extra staples, so that's always a bonus. So
absolutely.
Oh yeah. Last but not least. Oh, wait. This was Steve, I think Steve Beach for Creep Show. I just love this.
I was about to be like, is this a Mark Spears cover? There's a lot of blue on that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And then last but not least, Donnie doing this, I think like the 1 per shop variant or something for Minor Arcana. I don't know. This one looked gorgeous though.
I love her work, man. Love her.
Yeah, so somebody I just got put onto recently from
really Reed Coffin down.
I know.
All the work that she does with Dan is amazing, dude.
Trying to remember who
Arkham. What is it? Arkham Order of the New World, right? That's a good one. Arkham City Order of the New World.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Nick told me to read that one. Yep.
Yeah, but you got to read Coffin Bound. Coffin Bound is the shit, dude. It's like a grindhouse version of Sandman, is how I describe it.
Ooh, I like that. I'm sold. But that's it for me for covers, bro. How about you?
I mean, a week does not go by that I don't throw a Dan Panosian cover up there because, I mean, he's just killing it. Like when we talk about the artists that are doing fantastic work throughout the year because it's December, I've loved so many covers. He okay, spoilers. I'm putting together my year-end video right now. Be on the lookout for cover artist of the year. You might see his name pop up in there. Secondly, oh, did I only have one? I guess I only had one. See, Stu, you had so many damn covers here. I can only fit one in there. So, hey,
yeah, I thought you had
the.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's all good. I missed a slide here, but I got the best slide in there. So there you go. A lot of comics came out today here, including some that we see here. I know I hit up the shop. I got a whole stack of books right now. This week is heavy for me right now. Robbie, I know you already put out your video here.
Yep.
Stu, did you hit up the shop?
No, not yet, but super excited too for that book on the left right there, man. That above all else. Yeah, I cannot wait.
That seems to be the level of excitement that everyone's talking about right now here. We got Batman and Robin coming out, G.I. Joe, Null Hunter. This week is incredible. This has a lot.
Week, man.
Yeah, a lot of really awesome books here, which is going to make it really hard to pick out a best book of the week, if you will.
Thank God
here.
Distillery didn't put out 3 books this week.
Oh, yeah,
that's like an hour out of the preparation time.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Oh, man. All right. Well, thus wraps up our show talking about all these wonderful comics that we are reading week over week here. Robbie, I'm going to kick it off to you, man, for the first thing. What do you got coming up in the near future?
Well, we got Masters of Horror, episodes 1 and 2 being covered on Blood Splatter Chatter on Sunday afternoon. I'm a huge Masters of Horror fan, and we're talking about Incident on and Off a Mountain Road by Don Coscarelli. A person I met this year multiple times. Super excited for that. And Stuart Gordon's Dreams at Witch House, yet another great Lovecraft adaptation. So I think you can watch those on Tubi if you don't have access to them. So check those out and join our conversation on Sunday. Very, very pumped for that.
I think you're right about Tubi because I'll be there with you as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good. Next, tomorrow we got Mark Spears, my homie. Look at that picture. That's me and Mark together because we know each other. So I'm very excited to have Mark on the show. That's going to be cool. I'm live on Go Figure on Saturday night, but Jelani hasn't put a thumbnail up yet because he's a little bit of a scrub. But then Monday night is our 7th annual Festivus stream where we get to erect the PCP Festivus poll, air our grievances of the year, and show off our feats of strength. And it's always a fun time. And Jelani promised me he's getting shit-faced. So it's going to be fun. Last time he got shit-faced on the Festivus stream, it's hilarious.
We're all going to be worth it.
Yes, exactly. So hell yeah, man. We're ending the year strong on PCP, man.
Oh, nice. Well, dude, I know you wanted to keep it a secret here, but is it okay if I go ahead and announce the collab that you and Nick got coming up?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Okay, dude, I was just so happy that you guys finally were able to come to terms with what was going on here and get together and talk about power fantasy and how you guys.
I just love how Nick's promo pic is that one promo pic. He just he's like, I took this one picture, I'm good. I don't know what to do with my hands. I'll put all these graphics in my video and have like a fucking 10-point scale and everything, but you get one fucking promo pic. There you go, man. And it's taken from my MySpace profile page. That's what it looks like, right? But
oh my god, dude! Listen,
I thought you were talking about the other collab we got coming up, but you fooled me there, man. Congratulations.
I've been working on this all morning here in preparation, but you know. Stu, next up, buddy, man. What do you got coming up?
I forgot to get the thumbnail up in time. Bruno, forgive me. I just want to shout it out before I forget. Tomorrow night I'll be on Blood Splatter Chatter with Bruno doing Heretic with Link. The new A24 Hugh Grant pick. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that one. Yeah, can't wait to talk about that one with the fellas. Last night we had Absolute Book Club on Dr. Doom's Fan Club. Had a great show talking about Absolute Wonder Woman 1 and 2 with Scotty Fable, Matt from Bumpkins TV, and our homie Sergio. And then of course Friday night 9 p.m. Eastern we're doing our holiday episode of the all new, all different Playing Fable.
Look. So like I'm finally on the thumbnail, but look at Nick. It's the same goddamn photo. It's always the same photo of Nick.
No, wait. No, it's not.
Go back.
Hold on.
Yeah, it is.
No, hold on. This one he's appreciating power fantasy, and this one he's got a hat. Those are two different Nicks.
It's also the same photo of me, which is funny. Like,
oh shit,
y'all just hitting my Facebook profiles. That's what y'all doing.
That's awesome.
Oh, there's
But yeah.
nothing wrong with having a little fun. Speaking of a little fun here, outside of talking comic books here on Ink and Insights, you can catch me on the Pull List, my weekly comic book review show that drops every single Monday morning for all your comic book review needs. Guys, thanks so much for hanging with us tonight, for hanging with us with our year-end video here, as we're going to take a couple weeks off before we actually come back here to start the new year strong. It's been a fantastic time. It's been a fantastic year. And yeah, just wanted to thank you for hanging with us here. And for all of you out there in the chat, have yourself a fantastic holiday. Be safe. Have fun. We love you. Later, guys.
Happy holidays, y'all. Merry Christmas.